What's going on, guys? BossBay6 here, back to your video, and today, well, I have another album review for you guys, and this one is probably one of, if not the biggest album that I have done so far this year, even bigger than the last Creator album I did last week. This might be the biggest album that is going to be released this year because, well, a legendary act is going to be calling it quits after this album and probably after their tour. And of course, I am talking about Megadeth with their self-titled album, Megadeth. This is the 17th studio album from this LA-based thrash act that came out on yesterday on the 23rd of January on Frontiers Music, which is kind of a little, I guess, distributing label that's like around, like, I think Spain, I believe. And again, this band formed in 1983 in LA. And basically, if you don't know who this band is, then I do not know what to tell you. But TLDR, this band was formed by one Dave Mustaine after he got kicked out of Metallica for understandable reasons. And yeah, this band has been kind of going strong ever since. And, you know, I wasn't really expecting a whole lot from this album in particular, mainly because I've stated before on this channel, and I have been stating this for a long time, I have not been a Megadeth guy, and the main reason why is because of Dave Mustaine's vocals. Now, I will say musically, this band is one of the best thrash acts of all time, like top 3, for being completely honest. In terms of musicality itself, probably the best band out of the big 4 that includes Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax. However, vocally, I would argue that they are the weakest band out of the big 4. And that's including Slayer. And I love me some Tom Araya, but you get what I'm saying here. Dave's vocals, to me, just do not really fit the band's sound. Like, the more pissed off teen energy I could certainly get behind, but his vocals, to me, it's just so nasally and whiny, and it just does not fit for the stuff they're going for. Now, early on, maybe, but as time went on, it kind of got a little much at points. But obviously, this band is known for releasing some of their classic stuff in the 80s, like Killing Is My Business, Peace Sells, Rust in Peace, crap, what was the one in 92 that were basically trying to rip off the Black Album, but not as good in my opinion. It was, son of a bitch, I am forgetting what that album was called. What was it called? Countdown to Extinction, that's what it was. Sorry, I'm just not, brain's not there today, but I did have gone over this band's last album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, that came out in 2022, I believe. And I'll be honest, folks, I did not mind that album. I actually thought this album, I actually thought that album was pretty solid for what it is, even though, again, I am not the world's biggest fan of Megadeth. Now, there has been some lineup changes. There is no more Kiko on this album. They actually brought in Winter Sun guitarist Timu Montasari. I am so sorry if I fucked your name up, sir, but yeah, Winter Sun is more of a melodic, symphonic Megadeth band, if you will. I just don't get the appeal of them personally, but the guy's a solid guitarist, all things considered, and you combine that with Dave, who, say what you will about him, he likes to burn bridges like it's a fetish of his, but the dude's a hell of a guitarist. He knows how to write riffs, and he knows how to come up with some really damn good leads. And if you want really good leads and you want really damn good riffs, this album's going to have you by the fuck ton. Everything else, though, I'll get to that here in just a little bit as well. But also, you do have Dirk Van Buren on drums, who really does put on a very solid performance in my opinion. So, enough of my little bit of rambling. Let's get into the album as a whole. Starting off with the first song off the album, and what was one of the first singles as well, Tipping Point. Has a nice groovy beginning. Then it gets very shreddy, and it gets very thrashy. There's some more mid-tempo at the very end. And, you know, Dave, his vocals are very mid-tempo, on this album as whole. He's not really trying to step out of his comfort zone, which I could appreciate, but I'll get to the negatives when I talk about Dave's voice here in a little bit. But this was actually a pretty good way to start off the album, in my opinion. And then everything else, kind of a spoiler here, it does not reach the quality of the first song. Because then we get to I Don't Care, which was one of the other singles off of the album. And it has a nice bass line, some solid, solid fills and a little bit of isolated vocals as well from Dave. But the lyrics on this song in particular really give off some high schooler teenager vibes. You're in your fucking 60s, dude. I mean, I get it, Dave has always had that kind of mentality in mind when it comes to, writing, like, lyrics like, oh, I don't care, I don't want to do my homework, yeah. That's what this song really comes off. And it's like, I get it that if you're like a 15 or a 16-year-old and you want to be rebellious and not want to do that stuff, you're in your fucking 60s, dude. It just comes off as a bit cringy, in my opinion. And while Dave is no stranger to being cringy, it's kind of to the point where it's almost kind of getting sad at this point. But yeah, and also he does have a bit of a Dave Ellison-like dig, and, well, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of warranted because Dave Ellison's kind of a fucking moron for the stuff that he allegedly did, even though different circumstances. But yeah, the lyrics on this one are just kind of stupid, and the lyrics get dumber and dumber and dumber as the album goes on. But then we get to Hey God with a question mark and exclamation point. This is more of a mid-tempo like song. And it kind of reminds me of something off of Euthanasia where they kind of went a little more groovy. Because they came out in 94, and that's when thrash was starting to kind of go by the wayside, and that's when groove metal came in. Thanks, Pantera. But yeah, this really reminds me kind of something off of Euthanasia. The song's just kind of there for the most part in my eyes. Then we get to, I think, the final single off of the album, Let There Be Shred. Again, stupid as hell lyrics. Like, it's so goddamn cheesy. But the leads are really well done. Again, that is one thing I will never knock against Dave. My God, he knows how to riff his ass off when he needs to. The leads are really damn good. I really like the lead work and the lead exchange between him and Timu, which I think is very, very, very nice. But again, why the lyrics, dude? It makes literally no sense. Dave's not watching this, so why should he give a shit? But then we get to Puppet Parade. And this is when the album kind of pumps the brakes in my eyes, because this feels like another version of Trust that hasn't been done to death. Like, we haven't heard Trust like 15 million times at this point. And by the way, Trust is a poor man's version of Enter Sandman, in my opinion. So yeah, this really gives off Trust-like vibes off of... Was it Cryptic Writings? Yeah, Cryptic Writings, I believe, was the song off of that. It kind of reminds me of that. I mean, the song had potential, but just kind of landed flat, in my opinion. Then we get to Another Bad Day. Again, dumb as hell lyrics. Stop doing that shit, dude. Again, you're in your 60s. What are you doing? Like, I don't mind a band going goofy every once in a while in their heyday, but as long as the song itself has the quirkiness is not terrible for a band like let's say like a crossover thrash act. Like, that's kind of different than a full-on thrash metal act. You're not crossover though, dude. We already know how you feel about this shit. It's just stupid lyrics on top of stupid lyrics. And then we get to Made to Kill. This is more of a groovy song. There are some thrashy leads on this one. This is actually one of the better songs in the entire album in my eyes. But, again, probably the best song besides Tipping Point for me on this album, because at least the lyrics aren't as stupid. Obey the Call, nice heavy groove throughout the entire song. It's more of a groovy-like track. But there are some, like, very, like, heavy, like, grooves on that song in particular. I Am War. This one was kind of a disappointing track because I figured this was going to be, more of a thrashy song, but it's more mid-tempo. I kind of expected something different from this one, but unfortunately, it was not to be. And then we get to the last note, which is the last original that they have done on this album, and it is okay. There's some spoken word at the beginning of it, and it's more of a more groovy and more mid-tempo as well. There's some nice acoustic guitars that are kind of sprinkled in, though, and especially at the very end, which I thought was nice, but overall, it was kind of there for the most part. But of course, Dave can't leave shit yet alone, because of course he has to have a fucking Metallica cover at the very end, because I feel like Dave is still fucking bitter about it. Dave, here's a bit of news flash. It's been 40 years! Get over it, dude. Jesus Christ. I know Metallica kind of fucked him over by kicking him out. I think it was in 84, I think. So the band kind of formed in 84. If memory serves me well. But I get it that they kind of stole your riffs off of Ride the Lightning. The Metallica does not fucking care anymore, dude. They're literally, like, Megadeth and Dave are like that one X that just cannot leave shit alone. It's like, dude, just stop. Just stop. Just leave it alone. You burned so many bridges. Like, name a band that Dave has not had a grudge over. Like, I'm willing to bet he's had a grudge against every fucking metal band that he has toured or tried to tour with. And he just wants to burn bridges no matter where he goes. Like, it's honestly insane. Now, people might be looking at this review thinking I'm a little more critical about it. But I'm sorry, guys. I gotta point out this shit because it's honestly getting, honest to God, desperate and just flat out sad. Dave, you've made a reputation of your own, but you're really starting to damage it at this point. And it's getting to the point where it's just like, dude, this just screams petty. And it just screams pure desperation out of my eyes. And they did the Ride the Lightning cover, and it is far inferior than the original. Because the original had some energy on that album, on that song. And I guess the only thing that's better than this version, other than the original, is because at least the drum works really good. Whereas, I mean, yeah, you're comparing Lars Ulrich to Dirk Van Buren, which is not an easy contest in my eyes, or a fair contest, but still, at least that one had some originality. And guess what? James can sing. You really can't anymore, Dave. And it's more, the original, while it was more mid-tempo, it still had that, like, big headbanger energy. This one right here just kind of feels like it was just kind of phoned in, and Dave just wanted to give him one more fuck you to Metallica for reasons, I guess. So, yeah, that is the album, and I might as well go into the negatives I have with this album. Number one, I kind of already talked about it. There was not a lot of energy on this album. Like, the energy, it feels like this kind of got phoned in. Like, I get it, Dave really can't sing anymore because of the throat cancer and everything, but it feels like the energy just was not there. Like, it kind of came off a little bit lazy, in my opinion, because so many songs, like, most of the songs in particular, did not really have a lot of thrash to them. This is more kind of groovy and mid-tempo for the most part. And for a band that's going to be calling it a career, not really a good way to go out, in my opinion. Another thing, too, obviously, the lyrics are completely fucking stupid, in my opinion. Again, it just screams high school or teenager lyrics, and it just comes off as kind of cringy, in my opinion. And the drum work was not really the best, which is weird because Dirk is a beast of a drummer. Like, he can provide blast beats if he feels like it. But this drum performance just kind of feels like it's just alright for the most part, but nothing too spectacular. Like, Dirk just has some really damn good, snare turnovers and some good snare rolls, but other than that, it kind of feels like it was just paint by numbers in terms of the drum work. And of course, the big elephant in the room and the major complaint I have with this album is Dave's voice is fucking shot. He cannot sing anymore. Like, I don't think he can really sing that much to begin with, but holy God, dude, like, his voice is withered. Like, or weathered, I should say. Like, his spoken words are not bad. Like, I kind of like the more raspy kind of gruff tone he brings to them. But again, he just sounds so fucking nasally on this album, and it's just not a good way to end a career, in my opinion. So, is it the worst Megadeth album? God, no. There are way worse Megadeth albums that they have released. Like, we're talking like Super Collider or Risk levels of. We're not talking those kind of levels, but is it necessarily good? Not really. It's a very mediocre, middle-of-the-road album, in my opinion, and kind of a weak way to end a career. Is it as bad as Repentless? Fuck no, because at least this still has some of the token Megadeth riffs that you would get, whereas Repentless was just the sound of a band that clearly did not give a shit and that phoned it in for all the wrong reasons, but yeah, this one just didn't do a whole lot for me. I didn't expect much from this album, and my expectations were kind of met with, in terms of how low bar it was for me. So, I'll be kind, and I'll give this album a 3 out of 5. I was considering giving it a 2.5, but because the leads were really damn good, I would give it 3 stars, because that at least salvaged it a little bit for me. But again, this album didn't really have anything going for it. I just thought it was a very middle-of-the-road, kind of mid-album at best. Not dog shit, but very weak to call it a career on. So, that's about it. And I'm a little worried about the new Exodus album because I've heard a bit of the single that they put out, and I wasn't too impressed by it. I just hope with the old thrash acts nowadays, I hope we don't go down this route, because if you guys saw my creator review, wasn't too big on the last album. Not a huge fan, not really too big on this album as well. Let's hope Exodus kind of salvages it a little bit, but I'm not really having my hopes up that much. Well, folks, that concludes this video. What do you guys think about the final Megadeth album? Let me know in the comment section below. Did you guys think this was good? Did you think it was bad? Do you have the same opinion as me? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap that bigger subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Most importantly, join the herd. Talk to you guys in the next video. Peace out.